Beautiful people, what's going on? So we're here. We got a homemade cigar, and welcome to the new channel. You know, this channel is basically just the podcast, like sit down style videos, and because I just want the main channel to be just the documentaries and stuff like that. So we have this channel now. So let's light this homemade cigar. This is so we got a Nicaraguan jalapa aged jalapa in the middle as the filler. You got a Nicaraguan binder, and then we got a broadleaf wrapper, USA broadleaf. So let's light this. Look at that, nice light. Now I've been looking at different blends that I can make and stuff like that. I just have to get the leaves. So far, I have two blends, and the only thing that changes is the filler. So I have the Virginia tobacco in the middle, and then the Nicaraguan jalapa, aged jalapa in the middle as the filler. So just the fillers, but the binders and the wrappers have stayed the same. So we're gonna work on that. And for my drink, I got some coffee with raw milk inside. Delicious, delicious. So I feel like when I smoke cigars in the morning, I kind of am it's a different type of nicotine buzz. Like it lasts all day, kind of, and I like it. I don't need it, but I like it. That's the that's the words of a true fiend. I don't need it, but I like it, so I do it or whatever. Let's get into the video. So, you know, be a good student, obey. Be a good student. Don't ask questions. That's basically what I. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm currently in school right now, in college, my second year, and after high school. Hold on, let me puff this a little bit. I gotta get it lit. I gotta get it lit, bro. Come on. All right, let's go. So yeah, I'm in college, my second year, and yeah, it's been a been a ride. I mean, obviously, as you can see in my videos, I like talking, I like meeting people, I like socializing. Um, but the schoolwork is a different story because I'm very, um, all my life, I've always questioned and gone against the status quo. I've always just had a disdain for the status quo and just following the rules. And, you know, when that way of living and then school match, yeah, it's a recipe not for disaster, but just for trouble. I was never a no, I kind of was. I was a troublemaker, not in the sense where I did like illegal shit, but I was a troublemaker in the sense where I just liked asking questions, and then I knew those questions would get the teacher pissed off, but I asked them anyway. And you know, my whole thing is, is that immature? Yeah. Um, and part of this is, is seeing my own where I'm wrong because I know how to push buttons, which is a lot of you know rebel type people do that. Can do they know how to do that. So I feel like my development is finding out not to push people's buttons um, intentionally, but to rather be more genuine with it. Actually, really ask the question, and then if that pushes their button, you're okay with that. You can live with that. Shit is not staying lit. It's happened. Yeah, that's been part of my development. But you know, I was I was with the chair of the department or my advisor or whatever. She was like, "You're causing a lot of havoc this year." And I was like, "What?" I knew what she was talking about. What to the heavens? Um, but yeah, you know, I was guys. I show up late to class. I I ask questions that you know that can get the teacher pissed off. And you know, some most of those questions are valid questions, you know, and even valid answers. But what happens is that, as you guys know, you've probably been in school, is that most teachers feel threatened when you ask questions, and then as you age and grow up, you know, when a teacher asks a question, you don't even want to answer because you're just going to get shut down immediately. So it poses a huge problem in the education system where people are afraid to ask questions and to truly learn, because that's how you learn, is by asking questions and being curious. And that's something that'll never leave me, no matter what the fuck school does. But and I had to get out of the school system for a while to actually see, to actually understand this for myself. And the problem with that is that it makes followers, and it makes just drones and sheep, and you can't, like, not everyone's cut out for that, right? For me, it's more difficult to be a sheep and follow the rules than to do my own thing and to be curious and to do my own project, to follow my own curiosities. That's harder. I mean, that's easier than just following the rules. Now, I'm not a fool. I know that there's a reason that the rules exist, and the rules exist to keep society um, from going insane. But at the same time, we need people to push society forward, and the way to do that is to break the rules and to break the status quo. So there's people in this world that are just meant to break the rules, and it's a it's weird, you know, because society functions as it is, but at the same time, you know, it has to grow, because that's all life is just growth and evolution. So, you know, many people call me a hippie. They call me, or they see me as a hippie. They see me as, you know, a rebel type person. But I don't view myself as that at all. Like, I mean, I call myself a hippie as a joke, but like, I'm not a hippie where I like just smoke weed and protest and stuff like that. No, I'm a hippie in the sense where I see, I have progressive ideals, if you want to say that. Like, I see I see what the world can be and where humanity can go, and I just work on that because that's just important to me, and to see humanity grow and evolve and develop and just become better and not suffer so much. So it's a responsibility that you take on consciously, and no one's gonna give it to you. No one's gonna force you to do it. Like, you just do it because it's you, and I think that's important to me personally. But at the same time, who am I to say I can't force people to grow, right? So the way to get society to grow is, it's not a team effort. That's the thing. It happens from individuals. Individuals actually change the world, not organizations and stuff like that. It starts with individuals, and then those individuals can create organizations, whatever, businesses, because you know, capitalism is king. So we're talking about businesses, and that's what changes the world. Um, it starts with individuals. Team efforts don't lead to extraordinary results, because a team is not focused on growth in the sense where, you know, growing consciousness and humanity. What it's focused on is its survival, first and foremost. It can be focused on growth, whatever, but survival is its main um, strong point, or not strong point. Its main focus is just surviving. So if surviving means um, ruining people's lives in the process, then that's what it's got to do. So that's why it starts with individuals. So, you know, I'm gonna finish the degree. And my degree is exercise science, and some of the classes are just fucking like, there's a class, drug abuse or substance abuse, where it you know, school does a horrible job at teaching kids about drugs. It's so bad. It's absolutely terrible, because you know, how could you? I'm I'm really talking about things as in like psychedelics, weed, stuff like that. It just does a terrible job at educating people on drugs because when you paint a picture of fear and this thing is, you shouldn't do it, you shouldn't do that, it makes people curious and you're going to want to do it. And when you do it, you're not actually going to know how to do it responsibly. So instead, I'm not the type of person to just say the status quo is bullshit, but I want to, say the status quo is bullshit and then actually give implementations and ideas into how you can improve that. So one of the things I was thinking about is for drugs. I mean, people are going to do drugs. Let's that's a definite for all of time. Always been a thing. Every society has done drugs. I don't even like to call them drugs, but that's besides the point. But every society has done drugs. So what needs to change is you need to teach children and kids and people how to do drugs in a conscious way and an effective way. And the only way to do that is for teachers to actually have done them themselves. So for you to even so for a drug abuse class or a substance abuse class, you know, we need to see more people actually who have done the drugs, not on videos but in person, and give their perspective on it. And I'm not talking about hard drugs. Most, I mean, there's a whole thing for hard drugs, um, but mostly drugs that have a therapeutic benefit, like marijuana, um, LSD, mushrooms, MDMA, DMT, stuff like that, that are just classified as hallucinogens. But these things need to have more education around them, just plain simple education. There's just so much fear mongering and just miseducation and just bad fucking horrible horrible education around this stuff. It's actually appalling, really. Like I listen to some people in my class and they're like, yeah, my I'm not calling anyone, I'm not saying anything um derogatory here. I'm just saying, like, there's people that, in my class who were like, yeah, my brother, he was addicted to opioids and all these hard drugs and shit. And then when he did LSD, he lost his mind. I'm like, bro, you're like, so the first and foremost with psychedelics, what has to happen for you to actually get a benefit out of them is that your life has to be stable. Your life has to be just grounded in a sense where you just love life, and then you have just a base foundation for life. You have relationships, you have maybe a career you're working towards, um you have some form of income, like you can survive. It has to be based on that. Like if you're a fucking opioid addict and you get LSD off the fucking street and you take it while you're fucking on other drugs and you're just a mess, what do you think's gonna happen? This is the education I'm talking about. There's so much nuance to things, and then we kind of paint the picture as LSD makes you go crazy, and this is more than LSD, right? This applies to basically any other psychedelic, and I'm talking about psychedelics a lot because I feel like there's the most miseducation when it comes to drugs is with psychedelics and how to even use them, what they're about. It's because, quite frankly, no one's done them. So how can you provide education on them if you haven't done them? And more than that, you haven't done them seriously. That's the true problem, right? Because a great teacher is the one who's in the field, actually doing it. People who can, people like Owen Cook or whatever. They have this they have this saying like in the field. So what he means by that is you're actually engaged in the process of the art, whatever you're teaching, so you have a greater reference experiences to draw upon when you actually teach it. So when the problem with teaching without experience is that you have nothing to draw on. You have other people's experience to draw on. So how do you know that's true? right? We take it for granted. We take experience for granted, and we don't teach people how to actually develop massive experience in their lives. And this is a huge problem when it pertains to schooling. And school isn't all bad, right? It provides a framework for people. Um, but the real question, like, why, you might be asking, why am I in school then? Um, there. So, all right. So there is a hint of fear, right? Like, there's fear mixed with, my parents, mixed with, um, mixed with a little bit of patience. So the fear comes from, can I survive without an education? That's and it's a valid fear, and I believe I can. But my whole thing is, like, I feel like I need more life experience and more just time to develop my own thing, as you can see on my main channel. All the things I'm doing there. But there's that. But then there's also my parents. If I quit school, um, I have to deal with that. Of course, those of you who've had immigrant parents, the problem this arises. Um, and then there's also what I say. It's basically those two: the fear and then the parents. And a lot of people say, if I quit school, I would figure it out, right? There's no doubt, but there's still fear, like, and I'm already halfway done. I'm like 60% done. I might as well finish the associates. And if you don't know what associates is, it's 2 years before your bachelor's. And I'm basically getting paid to go there, community college. Um, I've had a lot of great experiences. Like, would I take it back? Even though it's been fucking crazy. No, I actually have had fun. I've had many, like, I wouldn't take those. I would never give those experiences away. Like, I've met amazing people, a lot of fun times, and at the same time, I've been building my purpose and building my own work and doing my own projects. So a lot of it is just, you know, being in the school system and understanding that school isn't going to give you. School teaches you the bare minimum, right? The bare minimum to basically be in functioning poverty, especially nowadays. Don't expect to get a job um, and be able to survive and really contribute to mankind through a basic school degree. Now, if you're, doctor, lawyer, whatever, you can make that work in a better way. But I'm talking about, degrees like, even like, not like a science, even with science degrees, right? You still, there's a value for education, right? Basic education is valuable. But in this day and age, as humanity progresses, like I said, the status quo is rapidly evolving. We're becoming more, um, how do I say it? The system is breaking down, and this isn't like many people say. You have a year left. You have 6 months to build your. No, no, calm down. No, um, that's always been a thing, right? There's always been people trying to push agendas, not even agendas, just trying to, um, push you into buying things, put you into that survival mode. But it's okay. Um, but I'm still thinking for myself what's actually going on. I think what's actually going on is that humanity is becoming more like a hunter gatherers again, right? Like, the internet poses a huge opportunity to be able to create your own work, and no matter how long it takes, right? And this is the value of you have free time. With school, you can develop your own things in your free time, right? So, you know, you can do it. Like, I can go to school, I can work on my purpose on the side, and then have social activities on the side too. Like, but my problem is when I get too caught up in distractions and stuff like that, I start going crazy because it's like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do. There's no time. But I realize that the problem is me. At the end of the day, I'm not focused. I'm not clear. So, yeah. But when I went to my advisor, and she basically told me I was like, she basically told me, um, be a good student and obey, not obey, but be a good student. Just just chill out. Of course, I'm not. I'm gonna pass the class. I'm gonna start coming in on time. I'm gonna lock in metaphorically. Um, but it's just my nature to be disruptive. Like it's not like I'm doing it purposely. Uh, it never leaves me, and of course, I owe a benefit to this to my use of psychedelics for bringing out my personality. And the thing that psychedelics do is that they disrupt the ordinary flow of your life. So they disrupt society. They disrupt um, everything basically. So with them, I've just become even more non-status quo. I just, and I like it because it's my personality. But for many people, it can be a problem because they're not this type of person. So this is where there's a lot of nuance when it comes to psychedelics. Is that are you the type of person to be able to handle this? Or you got to find out for yourself, right? Like, are you a leader or are you sheep? And there's nothing wrong with being a sheep. But the fact of the matter is, you really can't do psychedelics properly if you're a sheep. If you want to be told what to do, if you want to be told what to think and how to live, you can't, because what they do is they question everything about you. They give you a clarity and a sort of disruptive energy to your life, and they make you think about what you're actually doing and how society functions. You got to be able to handle that, because a lot of that can be troublesome, especially when you haven't figured out everything and you're just in the dark. But you got to be in the dark to figure out how to get to the light. So the real question with the education system, is how do we, and I guess ward off schools and stuff like this kind of are like coming online and stuff like that more and more. But like, how do we develop an education system where we actually allow kids to question and follow their own curiosities? And like, is this a utopian thing? Like, do we need sheep? Like, I'm not sure. I'm not the type of progressive minded person to give utopian ideals and to be unrealistic. Like, I guess I'm very progressive, but it's grounded in a sort of sense where I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid to I'm I see the truth of where we are as humanity is, and how we are as a culture and a society. Like, I'm not dumb, unless I am. I'm dumb enough to fucking um do other stuff. But anyways, I guess it just got me questioning. Like, you know, I've always hated. I've always kind of been disruptive, like I said, in school and stuff like that. It was just, you know, don't you just get fucking bored with people telling you what to do? It's like, don't you want to add a flair to it? You know, one example that happened. So with exercise, you have aerobic exercise and anaerobic exercise. So my teacher asked, she was like, "What's an example of aerobic exercise, which is where you're running at a steady pace?" I think. And I know the answer. The answer that she wanted was marathon running. We all knew it. But again, when education system has taught kids to not actually ask questions and to answer questions because they're afraid of being wrong, they're afraid of being shut down. But I don't give a fuck. So I was like, horseback riding, because I didn't want to give that simple answer, like the answer she wanted, because it was so easy. It was so easy. And no one else was gonna say shit. So I was like, horseback riding. And she got mad. Like you could tell she was a little bit tight because she wanted a specific answer. She knew that we knew, but no one else was gonna say it except for me. So I said horseback riding, and from there, she was, I was already late to class and shit. She just got fucking tight at me. She got tight. Of course, she didn't yell at me, but like, but she wanted a specific answer. We knew the answer. No one was gonna say it except for me. So I didn't want the easy answer. So I said horseback riding. Was I wrong? No, but I was wrong in her eyes because most teachers want their students to be in line. They want followers. They don't want free thinkers. They don't want, and this goes back to how they were taught too, and their egos around teaching. Uh, Most teachers have an ego around teaching where they think that um, they have a certain level of knowledge around a thing, and this is true, but they have to. I don't like saying be humble, but they have to understand that they don't know. They don't know they're right. So they need to be open to students actually being creative with the answers and to ask deeper questions into the nature of what they're teaching. And this is how you push humanity forward. But remember, school's number one priority is its survival. That's every college, every institution, that's the number one priority is the survival of the institution. So when you try to push forward to ask deeper questions, it activates people's um, reptilian part of their brain and their survival mechanism, and they get afraid. So that's what's really going on. Um, Now I can handle this. I'm fine because sometimes, like I still think there's a value for basic education, right? Like, still think there's a value for basic education, right? There's something to be said for being able to go through 4 years, 2 years of college and being able to do that. Um, there's something to be said for that. Even though it's factory farmed education, it's cheap education, most of the time, there's still a value to it. So I think I'm in the space where, like, I'm gonna finish it. I'm not a bad student. Like, I can study, I can focus, um, but this rebel part of my brain, this one that just wants to push forward and ask deeper questions, will never be shut down. So I'm always gonna cause some type of trouble. Um, I'm just a troublemaker in that aspect. I've always have been. I mean, I've I've never been in trouble for you know failing classes or doing drugs. Like, I never did a single drug all throughout high school and middle school and stuff like that. Never smoked weed, never did anything. But I was always questioning the status quo and getting in trouble for stuff like that. And I think that, like, if my kid didn't do a single drug, didn't I didn't even drink, guys. Didn't drink or any of that stuff, but was getting in trouble for asking questions and being curious, I would say good shit. I would be like, you are well on your way, motherfucker. But again, survival is king in this aspect. So I think, the way to reform the education system is it's going to take thousands. I mean, it might take 1,000 years, honestly. And then in 1,000 years, that needs to get reformed again because there will be new problems to solve, new things to work on, and it's always a process of growth. And I think this is my problem with conservatism. Of course, I don't want to get political here. I mean, but like, um, I guess my problem, or the way I see it, is that I feel like conservatism is in a sense keeping the status quo alive. But they don't think they did. They don't. They don't think that they are. But what is conservatism? It's a fear of progress. I feel like, but again, like there's a lot of there's a lot of good points to conservatism, um, and there's a lot of things I agree with. Like traditional values are very important. They are a base for society. These are very important. But as a mind, the conservative mind is a status quo machine, and I don't like to get lost in conspiracy theories and all that stuff. It just clouds my thinking. I can't do it. What I'm focused on first and foremost is how can we push humanity forward. That I feel like that's what matters to me, and I don't think that conservatism is the way to do that because from the way I see it, and I could be wrong, I don't know, but I feel like it just keeps the status quo alive without really knowing how it's doing that. But that's just a side note. And if you have a different idea on this, tell me in the comments because I actually want to learn more about politics. And I feel like with politics, there's social media has made political news very polarizing and biased. And you can't learn politics through social media. And even with YouTube, there's good long form. It's better, but you can't learn it on Instagram and TikTok because this is how most people get their political news. Because what these things are is they're just a biased echo chamber of people just spewing nonsense, but they have no education. Again, this is the value of education: is that it teaches you how to um, do basic research and check your sources and stuff like that. So when people come on YouTube and Instagram, they could get millions of likes, millions of sales, millions, so many things. They can get rich off this, but that doesn't make it true, and that doesn't actually push humanity forward. Most of the time, it actually regresses people because it's so polarizing and biased. Um, but yeah, I feel like um, dude, you know, I feel like that's just you can't learn political theory or just politics and law in general through social media. You have to read books. You have to read. That's that's the best way I've found to actually learn political stuff is through deep books that actually go through and long form content that isn't biased. And to see if something is biased or not, you have to be unbiased because of course that's everyone has their biases. This is that poses a problem. But you gotta just read books, read political books, read good books on both sides, and then you have to kind of develop your own framework. And your goal with politics always has to be what's true and what's going to push humanity forward, not what's going to keep the status quo and keep people um, stuck. And see what our society is actually doing. And remember, uh, what I said earlier is that this is an individual pursuit because the way to push humanity forward isn't through teamwork. Because with teamwork, of course, you got to get people on board. But when it starts with the organization's first role is survival, to push humanity forward, you have to let go of survival in a sense, right? In a certain sense. And survival in this aspect is your bias. In order to push humanity forward, you have to let go of your bias and really focus on the growth of humanity and society. What the fuck is happening with the cigar? Jeez. I gotta get better at rolling tightly. But yeah, so I was basically told be a good student, obey the rules, and yeah, it pissed me off. But I'm not, you know, my mom was telling me, you know, I'm the type of person who thrives on positive feedback. Um, but my advisor, you know, she's a real one. She's a real. I'll be honest, she's a real one. She wasn't, you know, she understands that there's people who are just rule breakers and just there's people who are naturally just um, rebels and they want more out of life than just the status quo. And she understands that, and I actually appreciate her for that. So my whole thing, I'm gonna finish the degree. Um, I don't know if I'll do 2 years after. Like I said, I can I can work on stuff like this. I can work on my life purpose. Um, not even on the side. You know, school honestly it doesn't take. It's not hard. It's not hard. Just it requires a focus. It requires a focus with anything, focus and clarity. So I have to really work on my ability to focus and to just get it done. And yeah, I will never be a straight line. I've come to accept that I can't. I will always be like kind of weird, not weird in like a fucking weird way, but weird in an authentic way. I always be kind of quirky, kind of eccentric, and you know, but it's always like grounded in a sense. Like if you really meet me in person, and this is why I created the second channel. I want the other channel to be focused on my documentaries, all that stuff, but this to actually, you know, get to know me and we can chit chat, talk, and stuff like that, and smoke cigars. But I, it's my life is always grounded in reality. I'm, I'm actually a very grounded person. I'm, I love this, but I always like those. It's like a mix, right? You know, I don't know if you guys know anything about astrology, but I'm I'm a Capricorn, but I'm on the cusp of Aquarius. So I have that, you know, Capricorns are very straight, they're hard workers, you know, disciplined, stuff like that. But Aquarius are kind of free, they're you know, go with the flow, stuff like that. So I kind of have those both sides to me. And part of my development is learning how to tap in between each part of my essence, for lack of a better word. So that's where I am. And yeah, um, feel free to, you know, discuss it in the comments, really. Like, and subscribe to the newsletter in the description box below. Um, talk about a lot of cool stuff in there. But yeah, you know, shoot me questions in the comments. Like, challenge me. I really want to, if you don't agree with something, challenge me. Because I don't want to be the type of person has their own, who has their ideas and then doesn't listen to anyone else or who doesn't hear anything else. I want to be challenged. I want to think. So, and I'm not just saying that for the sake of saying that. I'm actually saying that because I care. I care about, you know, and you know, there's something to be said. Like, why do I care about um pushing humanity forward and actually providing massive value to humanity? Um, you know, maybe you know it's my upbringing, but I feel like a lot of it is my personality and you know what I've been through, stuff like that. But I just care. And is there a reason? Because like, why? What else is there to do? If there's not growth happening, then what else is there to do? Because the status quo is just going to keep people suffering. So the way to change the way to change society is through having, you know, strong vision of what you think could change and evolve. And you know, let's say I have like 80 years. So I'm 21. I have like what 60 years left. Um, like there's a lot I can do in 60 years, but you know, it's going to take thousands of years to really get humanity up and rolling to the point where we can develop a more conscious society. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, but I can do my best. Um, I can keep creating. I can keep evolving, keep growing. Um, develop businesses that actually help people. But this is kind of my number one priority in life, and I feel like anyone who's watching this is this matters to them too. So be a good student. Okay. Be a bad student. No. Um, what would I say? Maybe be both. Um, Sometimes what I've realized in life is that sometimes you have to walk in a straight line to develop the leverage and the ability and the capital. And capital in this sense is as Cal Newport calls it, is career capital to go and do your own thing and to develop your own thing, and that's where the vision comes in. So sometimes I have to let go, not even let go. Sometimes I have to listen to the status quo to break the status quo. I have to be in the matrix to break the matrix, kind of thing. Um, I don't know if this is true, but that's kind of where I am, and I'm learning along the way. So, and I know a lot of people are going through this too. And there's been many times where I was like, where I've had this sense, the leaf, the leaves are falling, guys, fall's here. But there's been many times where I felt hopeless about this. But what changed for me was realizing that how my own mind is is irresponsible sometimes. Like even having this as a thought that you can do is you're miles ahead of other people. Even having a vision, even having that is something you have to hold so dear to your heart, because the world will always try to, undermine your vision and tell you to fit into the straight line and to be a, what is it? Be a square, or to not be a square peg. Um, but life as a circle peg that kind of just fits perfectly into everything is just not fun. What's the point of living life if you're just gonna be like everyone else? This is something that's taken me 21 years to really understand, to really take on as a challenge. Um, and it's difficult because there's no path. What is it? Joseph Campbell said, if the path in front of you is clear, then you're probably on someone else's. And the path in front of me isn't clear. You gotta, like I said, you gotta cut through it like Indiana Jones in the marshes or whatever the fuck he was. Remember the first Indiana Jones movie? The opening scene was him cutting through the long the long grass or whatever in the Temple of Doom. But yeah, like develop your own life. The beauty of life is that you can develop through conscious commitment, through focus, through clarity, your own life. That is infinitely valuable. And when you're young, this is the perfect opportunity to develop this. Because when you're older, you develop more responsibilities. You can be trapped in wage slavery, be trapped in relationships. You can just feel trapped. And this is where I see the value of psychedelics for young people if you do it properly and if you have the right personality. This is why I don't. It can be dangerous. It can be difficult, but what psychedelics what psychedelics did for me was they allowed me to see that life doesn't have to be. I always like this, but they kind of exacerbated it. That you don't have to live life like other people. When people were telling me, in middle school and high school, what job do you want? I always said I don't know, because I was afraid to tell them that I don't want a job. I'd rather be an entrepreneur. I'd rather build my own business. I'd rather provide massive value in my own unique way. And this is something you have to develop for yourself because no one's going to give this to you. If you don't develop it for yourself, then what do you have? You have what other people give you. And what other people give you serves their agendas and their survival survival agendas. And that's not what you want, especially if you're subscribed to my channel, because we're not about that here. I want you guys to be free thinkers. I want you guys to question things and to really be free. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, there's nothing that pisses me off more than people who aren't free. But also, at the same time, not everyone can be free because not everyone wants to be free. And our society, as it's structured, as it's currently structured, is as a pyramid. So people on the bottom kind of feed and funnel the leverage to the top. Um, and the way to actually raise yourself up in that pyramid scheme is to provide massive value and be unique and be a visionary in your own unique way and to have clarity and a focus as to what you want out of life. And there's so many distractions. We can list off the distractions as like an improper use of weed, which is what 99% of people do who use weed. They use it irresponsibly, and they're basically just can't even fucking think straight. um, Alcohol, the party lifestyle, and I'm a fan of parties, guys. But I like partying. I told you guys I'm a social, I'm a very social person. But I even see the, and almost, I fell into this where it's like you're around people too much, and you start copying their mannerisms. This is why it's important to get around conscious people and people who are actually also on this path. And it took me a few years to find some people who even um, live this life. One of my good friends, John, he's um he's committed to this. Um, a few other people too, but there's a loneliness phase there, and that could be the most difficult because yeah, 12, I think. Yeah. Why? Where do you need to go? All right, because sometimes well, even though we are biological things, right? We're humans. Loneliness isn't normal. Understand this. We're not meant to do this alone. So there's that loneliness phase, and then with the internet, it makes it so possible to meet like-minded people and to build, you know, conscious communities and stuff like that. But to also not at the same time not be so attached to them because you don't want the survival of the group. You want to actually expand and to grow. So as a leader, your responsibility is to really go out and find people who are on this path, and that takes time. I've been through many periods of just loneliness and feeling alone, feel like no one gets me. But then as you begin to raise your vibration, um, and really get out there and experience life, you meet people who are on this path, and you cherish those people because um, it's infinitely valuable. But my camera's about, or my phone's about to die. So let's wrap this up here. So I was basically told be a good student, obey the rules, um, but I'm not. I'm gonna finish the degree. It's gonna be a pain in the ass, but I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna be clear. And I actually like talking about this because this is just stuff I've been thinking about. And this new channel is just gonna be me, these videos, just talking body. I don't hate talking head videos, but I like the whole body. Like I want you to see like my whole body, like not just the head uh, on a camera. But anyways, yeah. I hope I gave you guys something to think about, some something to contemplate or whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed your cigar. The cigar. What am I tasting? Hold on. This one's smooth. I put this in the humidor for about 2 weeks. And I've really seen a difference between when I make a fresh made cigar and then smoke it immediately versus when it ages in the humidor for a little bit. It's much smoother. It doesn't, sometimes when cigars aren't aged, they kind of burn your, not burn, but like they just taste like sticky. It's a very weird feeling. When they're aged, it's smooth, it's nice, and it actually tastes good. So, yeah, um, that's it. So yeah, enjoy your day, guys, and hold on. Peace. Catch you.